Right, I just want to thank Jan for setting the bar so high and talking about what is a very exciting and progressive technology and interface and platform with social media so very well, so leaving me with the dry subject of paid search. And let's see what I can do to try and keep the momentum where he left off. Yeah. I've been invited here to talk to you about paid search, and it was an opportunity that I just could not refuse, and I'd like to thank you for having me here. But at the same time, I think that I'm in danger of trivializing how difficult and how complex paid search can be. And it seems to have been around forever. So everybody knows about paid search, and even search in general. And just a quick survey, anybody in the room, can you please raise your hands if you're now currently investing in search, whether it's SEO and paid search? Okay, so it's still a subject worth talking about, which is quite handy for me. I still think search is a barometer of consumer interest and consumer opinion. The reason I say that is it's not as exciting as social media and trying to get people to engage with your brand. You can get people talking a lot about your proposition or what you're selling. But search, they actually tell you a lot more than you think. So searchers, well, we know they're now making very specific searches. So these are real examples. We run the campaign for Which, the consumer association that do product reviews, etc., in the UK. And here, this is a real example of a search term. So the Sony BDP S350 Blu-ray disc player, well, you can read it. Review, Hotpoint, FF4DX, and so on, and then Pro Heat. And what we think's happening are people are using other forms of research, other websites, and they're cutting and pasting into Google or Bing or Yahoo to try and get further results. And they actually ask questions. What are the safest newborn car seats? Tell me, which is the best washing? And we come to some of the misspellings, and I hope some of this is not going to be lost in translation, but what are the best washing machine on the market? Which reliable, economical family car should I choose? Now, what this tells us also is that on our websites, maybe we should be putting questions, the old frequently asked question concept, because people do type in questions. So if you actually identify those questions, have them on your website, so it's a question, and then all the information answering that question, you're going to get better page rank. You're actually the user's going to think, oh, you are actually answering my question. Searchers tell you about themselves. Recommended laptops for students. So now we know this person is a student. Best A4 printer for photographers. Best wireless modem router for working at home or working from home. So again, what we're finding is that through search and mining the raw search terms that people use, we can find out more about the people. But this is quite funny because they're also funny, unpredictable, and notoriously bad spellers. Now, this is what I hope doesn't get lost in translation. What I'm going to do to illustrate this point is I'm going to tell you what they bought or what they subscribed to and what they actually searched. So this person actually subscribed to Runner's World through one of our campaign sites, and their search term was ruining a marathon. This person subscribed to Men's Fitness, and what they actually typed in is how do I get bigger muscles, as in, I think they were looking for a cookery magazine or something, but. And this person actually did subscribe to Men's Health and typed in sex pack tips. Not quite sure what they thought came in a sex pack, but I think. Somebody made a purchase on the website iwantoneofthose.com, and they actually typed in a shower. I could use one of those. And they also somebody purchased something that wrote in cool gadgets that haven't been invented yet. I hope they found what they were looking for. Okay, the age-old question. PPC versus SEO. Now, I know I'm here to talk about PPC, but sometimes I think marketeers and digital marketeers are all unanimously in agreement that you should use both SEO and PPC. But somehow, I still find lots of people making a choice. I want to put all of my budget from PPC into SEO, or I think that PPC is tangible and instant, and I need to use PPC. So let's look a little bit at where you can use PPC to actually help your SEO strategy. So we believe it shouldn't be a choice. There are environments where PPC ads are served where there are no organic listings. So we could look at some other Google-owned sites like shopping.com, where you can have paid search ads. Times Online in the UK, that's a search partner with Google, and you won't get the organic listings when somebody uses a search box. You've even got environments where we know there's no organic listings, things like when you're looking for images, etc., that still serve PPC ads. So if your strategy was solely around SEO, you're going to lose out on all of these opportunities. PPC traffic can be directed to a specific sales environment, which can be quickly tested and optimized. Now, this is very important, and we find a lot. I mean, just to give you a quick bit in the heritage of Jellyfish, we started in the publishing sector, and so we must run about 140 campaign sites for magazines throughout the UK and the US, and some in Europe. But what we found is that they had strategies for their SEO, and their main sites had lots of user-generated content. It was selling other services. There were lots of banner ads, lots of distractions. And in order to get people to subscribe or to make PPC to get a return on investment, we found that we had to build special environments. And here's an example, Pre-Loved. So in your industry, what we found, and they use PPC in quite a clever way, is their thought process is if you're selling a bike, if you want to purchase a bike, so if you're using search terms like buy a bike or cheap bikes, then the chances are that you use bikes and that you've got one that you'd like to sell. So in amongst those ads, they were serving ads about selling merchandise. So they were using specifically made paid search pages to get people to sell their old stuff whilst they're looking to buy new stuff. And I think it's worked very successfully for them, and they're using PPC in anger. PPC can be used to identify and prioritize keywords for SEO optimization. Now, we know, because we run both SEO and PPC, that no matter how good and sophisticated the tools are out there for you to find keywords, it doesn't work as well as actually using paid search and mining the terms to find out what people are actively searching for now. So, even worse, what these tools don't tell you is which keywords are converting. So whatever your acquisition is, whatever your predetermined goal of your campaign is, these tools aren't going to tell you which keywords are generating those goals. And those are the keywords that you want to put into your SEO strategy to make sure that you're making or producing and developing pages and optimizing your site for those keywords. Now, we've seen this graph so many times, the long tail, but what I'm trying to illustrate here is that at the long tail, if you could find out those keywords that are in the tail and converting, that one simple backlink with the right anchor text, or developing an article around that subject matter, or developing pages and optimizing that page to those tail keywords, you can get first page ranking very quickly. But you have to have an active paid search campaign to identify those tail keywords in the first place. PPC can be used to test ad copies, and learnings can be used to optimize meta descriptions. So we spend a lot of time, and the Google interface allows you to test ad copy, to find out what appeals to the demographic and the people you're trying to appeal to. And then you can actually test those through hard, tangible metrics, work out which ad copies are working, and then you could use those for your meta descriptions. So on your SEO and organic listings, you're using the right message that's going to attract click-through rate, and of course, mixed with using the right keywords, you're going to get a great return on investment. PPC will give insight beyond page rank and will identify keywords which the search engines think are relevant to the site. So again, within a paid search campaign, you know which ones are getting 10 out of 10 quality score. That means, that not only the click-through rate is a huge part of that equation, but it also means Google thinks that it's relevant to your site and your proposition. So those are the ones that you can optimize, but again, paid search is required. The more real estate your brand occupies on any given search results page, the more trust and recognition you would receive. This is, again, a slide that's been knocking around for what seems like 8 years. But it is, the formula 1 and 2 makes 3, but in actual fact, it makes 6. So what it's trying to demonstrate is that the more exposure you get, the more people believe that your brand is synonymous with whatever they're searching for, the product or service, and therefore you get more traction. So let's go to PPC. And one of the big things about PPC, and if I can leave you with anything today, it is that a lot of people have dabbled in paid search. A lot of people have invested. It is a very, if you imagine the real estate, it's probably the most expensive real estate in the world. You know, a square inch costs how much to occupy? And what we find is that a lot of people breaking into that market or spending money within paid search, if you don't put all the best practices and don't manage the campaign in the best way, you're not going to get that return. And I find a lot of people then give up on paid search as a potential means of driving traffic that can acquire a return on investment. The first thing you need to do is define what the acquisition is. So in our world, like I alluded to earlier, it could be driving market share. So you want people using your site. There's no point in advertising ads if no one's coming to your site and are going to actually engage with those ads and potentially purchase from the people advertising. But also, you want inventory. You want to find people who will place the ads. So you've got this kind of ecosystem that you're trying to create where people want to come on to sell their stuff through your brand, but also you want people to come and buy stuff on that site. So what we need to do is actually define what the goal is. Is it somebody coming to sell something, or is it somebody just coming to purchase? And this is the wonderful metrics tree that is very, very important to understand when running a paid search campaign. As what this is here to demonstrate is that, as you can see, the cost per acquisition is actually a symptom of all the other metrics. I can't go in. There are some bid management tools that you would go in and just type in your cost per acquisition, and then the campaign will then run and optimize to that cost per acquisition, but you're not going to get the maximum volume doing it that way. That's approaching it from the wrong side. What this demonstrates is that we have to affect all the other metrics to then create the CPA, and I'll go in a bit more detail. But before you get to that, there are some foundations that you need to have in place. A campaign structure. You need to have a very organized, defined naming convention and campaign structure to make sure that your campaign is extremely granular and that the keywords are going to the right ad copy and going to the right page. Keyword generation. Obviously, you need to preempt what people are going to be searching for, but you could also use the broad and the phrase keywords to generate more keywords within the process. Ad copywriting, very, very important and often underestimated. You've got very restricted characters to use with your ad copy, so it's very important to try and get the right message within your ad copy. Landing page development, like I said earlier, sometimes the way your site is structured at the moment, it's not the best environment to land PPC traffic. So I would suggest often landing pages or campaign sites to get the message across that you want based on the keyword somebody searched for. Destination URL allocation, that is about landing people if you do have the right pages on your site, deep linking them to the right area. But again, I want to give a little bit of advice on that. I find a lot of our clients, when we take over their campaigns, they've deep linked all of the traffic all to the specific pages, but in actual fact, the way they've structured their site is that those pages no longer communicate the proposition very well. We've got to think that that is that person's homepage. They've gone from Google, they're landing on your site for the first time, that becomes their homepage. So even though it's a specific product page, potentially, we've got to make sure that you explain your whole proposition on that page. And the launch bid strategy, that's self-explanatory. So what we try to do is we try to anchor one part of this metrics tree, and the one that we anchor is the CPA. We don't want too many variables when running a paid search campaign. And so let's look at the cost curve. Now, it looks a bit of a complicated diagram, but what basically this is here to illustrate is that unlike print, which I'm sure everyone in the room knows a lot about, unlike manufacturing, you don't get economies of scale with paid search. The more units you want to acquire, you're not going to get them cheaper. The reason why I say that is along here at the bottom, you would have things like your brand terms and the very tail, very specific buying terms. But as you go towards the more generic terms, you don't actually know what the user wants. You don't actually know whether they, for example, they type in digital cameras. You don't know whether they want to know what a digital camera is. You don't know whether they want to know how much a digital camera, whether they want to review, whether they want to buy one. There's so much. So what ends up happening is that your conversion rate will come down, and because it's a generic term, your cost goes up. So what we can do, and what if you're not doing, you're not going to get the right cost per acquisition, is that we need to manage to make sure that we get the right conversion, but we also need to manage the quality score to bring the price per click down. And these are the only 4 metrics that we can actually affect with a paid search campaign. You've got the average cost per click, impressions, click-through rate, and conversion. Those are the ones we can directly affect by the very nature that nothing's branching off those metrics. These are the ones that we can directly affect, and they're the ones that the symptom of affecting those will create efficiencies in your cost per acquisition. Now, it's absolutely amazing that the exponential effect of changing each of these metrics ever so slightly. If you imagine, if you brought your cost per click down by 5%, your impressions went up by 10%, your click-through rate went up by 10%, and your conversion went up by 5%, the impact on the cost per acquisition is dramatic. Now, if you're not doing all of these things, these could be reasons why paid search may not be working. And if it is working for you, that's even better, and possibly there's areas to improve and to invest more in it. So we can increase or decrease the keyword count. So new products, you can use inventory feeds, all the article content, etc. You could generate more keywords. You can increase or decrease the number of search networks that you use. So there's Bing, there's Yahoo, but there's a whole host of other search platforms that can be used. You can manage the content network and placement targeting. So it's amazing how well you can optimize the contextual display network within the networks. Match types. You can make sure that you're using broad and phrase match types to cast the net out and to make the most. Introduce negative keywords. So examples of negative keywords are where you could put a keyword in to make sure that your ads aren't being served for irrelevant content. Generate more tail keywords. So this is where you're trying to find those very niche terms that work for you. Increase your bid caps. Now, this is or decrease your bid caps. That's very interesting because out of all of this I'm talking to you about, that's the one thing your bid management tools will do. So I'm saying to you there's 22 unique ways we can manage the campaign, and bid management software only does one of them. We can qualify and dequalify the ad copy, so we can make sure that if your site isn't converting for a certain term, you make sure you inform them about what your proposition is before they have to click on the ad. If you've got a great proposition and you're converting your traffic, then dequalify the ad copy. Let as many people through as possible and let the site do the work. Introduce network extensions. There's a host of new innovations. You can use product feeds to make sure there's pictures of your items. There's video extensions. You can create videos that can be displayed in situ on the search result page. There's the star ratings. There's Twitter feed. There's so many things we can use now within paid search. We can improve the ad copy relevancy. That would increase quality score. Improve the landing page relevancy. That would, again, increase your quality score, and you will convert better. Delete zero impression keywords. What happens is that now, because of you can imagine how many people have AdWords campaigns nowadays, Google will penalize your entire account if it's packed with keywords that are getting no activity. You've got to keep and constantly cleanse your account. Improve delete keywords with 500 impressions and no clicks. Google treats those in the same way. It thinks that it's not relevant. If you can't get a click with 500 impressions, start to cleanse your account. Defined affiliate PPC rules and police activity. If any of you have affiliate programs, it's amazing. Once we start doing analysis, how many affiliates will start to hijack your brand terms and all of your good terms. I mean, to give you a story, we have our tracking URLs are basically www or tracking.jellyfish.co.uk and a whole string of parameters. We actually had an affiliate that registered the domain Jellyfish spelt with an I, and then they actually put everything exactly the same except that one little change so that they can hijack all of our brand terms and so on within the campaign. So policing affiliate activity is very important. You can improve the landing page, improve the offer, because often it's all about interaction and getting people to inducing an action on your page so you can influence the conversion. And when we look at the metrics tree, you improve the conversion, it allows you to improve or increase your bid caps. Retargeting, I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. Email follow-up, that's a great one. If ever you have a sign-up funnel, we advise that you do it in stages. Don't ever have a sign-up page that's got all of the information on that one page. Because if you get somebody to put their name and their email, click next, then they go to put their address, click next, and then go to the credit card, you can pick up data along the way with the right opt-in. And then if you do pick up that data, you can then email to follow up if they don't finish the sign-up funnel. And I said, and call tracking. This is a big subject and one that I could probably do a half-an-hour talk on in itself. But there's now technology out there, and I'm not here to sell, but I know that we've also produced technology that can actually give each user their own specific phone number when they land on the site for half an hour. And basically, so what happens at the moment is that if you're running a paid search campaign and you've got all the metrics, if they're using an online source and they pick up the phone, all of those metrics are cut off instantly. But there are technologies out there where they would have their own unique number for half an hour so that when they do make that phone call, it could be matched back to the page they were looking at, the keyword they used, and so on. So that's quite an important innovation. And this is just, again, I believe you've got access to these slides, so I'm not going to go through in great detail. But those 22 ways I spoke about, this just demonstrates which metrics you can affect by using that methodology. So non-search PPC opportunities. Well, remarketing. This is for everyone. I'm sure a lot of you know about it, but just to summarize what remarketing is that everybody that lands on your site, there's the potential to cookie them. And when you drop that cookie and you can see what page or what product they were looking at, when they go and they're surfing the web and going around using any other different pages, you can serve ads that are related to the product they were looking at on your page. So it's no longer contextually linking to that person. It is actually the fact that they visited your site, looked at your product. No matter where they go that serves ads, you can just serve ads related to that product. So basically, you've lost them for your site, but you chase them all over the internet trying to get them to transact. And I'm embarrassed to have this slide up after what Jan did, so I'll just move on quickly. You all now know about Facebook and the opportunities that come with Facebook. So I'm talking about all of these things that you've got to do. Obviously, technology is very important. And the only reason I say that is that you want to put your keywords into portfolios so that you can optimize the campaign. And so we've got a platform that does exactly that. And just to explain what it does, you've got the search term, and it just splits them into two, non-converting and converting keywords. And then it puts it into further categories. And I'll explain how that's worked out. But what's really important is that, again, it's very difficult top line to explain the complexities of paid search. But many times, on the subject of non-converting keywords, we've had clients look at, when we started managing the campaign, say to us, well, look, I can see I've spent 10,000 euros on these keywords and none of them have converted, and on non-converting keywords, you're wasting my money. And then we would say to them, well, hang on, before you jump to that conclusion, out of those that 10,000 euro spend, 98% of those keywords have only had 10 or less clicks. So how can you penalize a keyword that's only had 10 clicks? It's not had a chance to breathe. It's not had a chance to convert. And then when we go even further and we say, actually, if you look at last week, all of your sales, 47% of those sales came from keywords that had less than 10 clicks. So if you were to eliminate all of that non-converting traffic, you've basically potentially halved your sales next week. So what we've got to do is we've got to make sure that the stuff that's working is offsetting the keywords that you're basically putting out there and researching. The idea is to push, analyze, and refine. That's what you're trying to do with paid search. You cannot expect to hit the sweet spot and to know exactly what keywords are going to convert for you in the future. Every keyword has to convert the first time at some point, and I guarantee it's not the first time someone clicks on it. So you've got to actually manage that balance, which is extremely important. So what does it do? Well, basically, we take all of the keywords and we throw it against a matrix. And so the non-converting one, we can see there's the spend on one axis and the number of clicks along another. Some will fall into the area that I was talking about, where it hasn't spent enough to react to. And then some will fall into this little investigate, campaign, manage area. But as soon as they fall out of that area, then, yes, you can delete them because they've had enough, either spent enough or had enough clicks to show that they're not going to be a converting keyword. On the flip side, all of your converting keywords, you do the same thing. And then all of the keywords will fall into portfolios. And how you act with those keywords are different. And again, it's probably a 3-day course to go through how we would deal with that, but I just wanted to give it a top-line view. What we're trying to do here is where you've got the cost per acquisition and the target conversion, we're just trying to get all of the keywords to gravitate to the center. Now, that's not always going to happen. You're always going to have your brand keywords, which are very high converting keywords with the low cost per acquisition, but they will be offsetting your generic ones, which will be in the top left. And again, the way that you manage, you have to make sure that you're offsetting those keywords. You need to see all of your metrics. So basically here, you can see all of the metrics. You can click on any of those metrics and see 56-day trends. We can overlay the changes that have happened in the last month. All of these things are essential for running an effective PPC campaign. So flying through that, the tangible nature of pay-per-click, so PPC campaigns, provide the opportunity to generate acquisitions, whether that's sales, leads, inquiries, etc., in volume at a fixed cost per acquisition. So what I'm basically saying there is that if you put all of the right processes in place, it is possible, no matter what your cost per acquisition is, to build a campaign and to manage to that cost per acquisition. Now, like all the other presenters, it's such a complex subject, and I can go on about a very generic subjects, etc. But again, I wanted to leave a lot of time at the end to potentially put any questions, if possible. Thank you.